Hi, everybody. Welcome to Queers and Soaps. I'm Tommy, and today I'm joined by a very special guest. Angel is joining me today.
Hi, how you doing?
And today we are covering the first, I guess, book. I feel like that's what they refer to them as, book.
Yeah, it's a book. So then I found out I forgot that this one fun fact that like each month is a chapter, but only for
Oh,
Fate. Only for Fate. I think they dropped it for the next one.
okay.
So it's
Yeah.
called is it called Betrayal or Deception? I'm forgetting because I know it's in the promos. So and I meant to write that down. So but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, yes, poor Charles. The first book, Fate. I'm very excited because I loved Port Charles. I didn't watch the whole thing. I came in kind of midway, but I absolutely love these characters and I'm really excited to revisit them. And Angel so graciously offered to help me do that. Um,
Yay.
so I guess we'll get into it. Um, First off, what's your history with the show? Did you watch it from beginning to end?
Yes, so I watched it practically from the beginning to the end. I didn't watch the movie initially because it was on a Sunday night and school and everything like that. And
Hmm.
but I did sample a little bit of it and I was like, "Oh, this is boring. I don't like it." And then after about 6 months, that was when General Homicide happened. So General Homicide was like a murder mystery and I got into it. That's when I got into it. So and then I was there from that point to the end with some breaks because of school and everything like that, of course. But I always got my Soap Opera Weekly or Soap Opera Digest and caught up with it. So yeah, and then especially the arcs. I love the arcs so much.
Hmm.
And I don't want to spoil anything, but they are so good.
Well, I came in kind of like the second month, I guess, of Tainted Love.
Mm-hmm.
I had heard about Port Charles. I always say I'm a new soap watcher because I've only been watching since 2000, which is 23 years, but that feels like a drop in the bucket for a soap fan. Like, I feel like because I didn't start watching in the 90s, I'm still a new viewer. But I'm playing catch up. I'm dipping into different soaps. But so I had only been watching Days of Our Lives, and I used to sometimes, if I had missed days because of school, I would like read like the synopses in like TV Guide or in the paper or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So I was aware of Port Charles because I would see all the other soap synopses, and I would kind of read. And I'd be like, "Oh, that sounds interesting." But I got into Port Charles because of SoapNet, those SoapNet promos.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so that.
And I remember them playing like the Tainted Love song for Tainted
Mm-hmm.
Love, and I was like, they're doing vampires? Like, what's happening? So that's why I started watching Tainted Love, and I was obsessed. And I don't think I watched it to the end. I think I stopped. I took a break after Secrets because we lost a character that I loved.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I did come back because I remember Livy having like a doppelganger and
Yes. I'm trying to get this meme started with sometimes I feel like Livy, sometimes I feel like Tess.
yeah.
Such a Gemini type of thing.
But that's way, way, way in the future. So
Hmm.
back to book one, Fate. We literally started off with a bang with a car
Yes.
explosion. Um, Now I had a couple of years ago watched like maybe 6 months leading up to this because I wanted to see Kimberlyn Brown,
Hmm.
and I can't remember, did that end with the cliffhanger of the car explosion and we just kind of picked up here with the explosion?
Yes. So there was that. So that Friday, we had the car explosion, I think, and then they repeated it for Monday.
Gotcha.
Um, and then I forgot what happened with Kimberly Brown's character. I want to say she was in a coma.
Yeah, something. I feel like I
Something
remember
happened
her
to her.
having Lucy tied up and she was going to inject her with some
Hmm.
serum or poison or something. I guess they
Yeah.
can have Kimberlyn Brown like right what she's good at.
Yeah.
um, so I have Eve follows Ian into his car to try to stop him from leaving town, and then the explosion happens. Lucy sees them from the window inside the bar. What's the name of this bar again? I don't remember
The
what it's
recovery
called.
room.
The Recovery Room. Okay.
The recovery room. Yep.
Um, I have Lucy, Kevin, Jamal, Allison, Joe, Victor, Gabby are all in the bar.
They're all in
I was like,
there.
oh, it's everybody.
Like basically the whole cast. I think Karen, Chris, Karen and Chris are not in there. I think, and then Livy and Jack left before, because I think it was her birthday party or something like that. Her 18th birthday, from what I understand.
Yeah. Lucy saw Eve and Ian get into the car, and she tells Kevin, this is like in the aftermath of the explosion.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't believe that because he keeps telling her that she went to the hospital. She went to the hospital.
Yeah, because she got the call. There was a call that she called, she got a call from the hospital, but then she went out and saw Ian instead of going to the hospital.
Yeah. Oh, Jack takes Livy to see her grandmother, and this is where we get mention of Rachel, who was Kimberlyn Brown's character. The grandmother doesn't know everything that went on with her. It seems like
nope, not at all.
I also, for some reason, is this the last we see of the grandmother, and we just get mentions of her?
I think so. Yeah, because there's a lot of characters that not a lot, just like several characters that didn't make it to the arcs. I know later we'll talk about Joe and Gabby, but there's a character who was kind of in the mix named Courtney, and then Neil, her son. It was like a whole cancer storyline, but Courtney was very deceptive and everything like that. But her name still appears in the credits. I noticed that, so maybe we get 1 or 2 more appearances in the arc, but I'm not sure. But I know that they were mentioned. They were like, "Oh, Neil went to see Courtney," so.
So Livy explains to her grandmother that they won't be leaving town as planned because Rachel had to go away to rest.
She is resting, all right.
Jack helps her when she starts to have a coughing fit. He kind of calms her down. Allison is unconscious in the debris from the explosion. And she has a cut on her head that Gabby says is going to need stitches.
What I noticed is that the second that the explosion kind of settled, Jamal got up and was like, "Where's Allison?" I just love that. I love that. I love that he just was immediately like, "Okay, where's Allison?" That was the first person who even talked after the explosion. He was like, "Where's Allison?"
Frank arrives on the scene, and he says that they think it was a car bomb. Kevin and Lucy arrive at the hospital, and Joe tells them that the police found the remains of 2 bodies in the car. Livy wants to know how Jack knew how to help her grandmother, and he deflects and distracts her by kissing her. And when they kissed, I was like, yeah. We'll ship them.
I ship this.
I was like, they were cute. I like it.
I like how we try to get they were trying really hard to give Chris a storyline with Livy, but it didn't. No, it's not working out.
I don't like Chris. I didn't like him then. I can already tell I'm not gonna like him now. He's just so sneaky to me.
I think I like the actor more than I like the character, because they had Chris sort of be they let Nolan North do a lot of funny stuff, which actually he's now a very famous voice actor now. I remember there was a fantasy in the regular series, not the arcs, where he was pretending to be the guy from the Twilight Zone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he does a great job with that.
So Kevin and Lucy return to the explosion site, and we get a cameo from Mac from General Hospital.
Yay, Mac! I love Mac.
So do I.
I think this might have been one of the last crossovers we get. Really? I know we get the nurses' ball in Tainted Love, but I think
was that the last nurses' ball before they brought it back for the 50th?
I think that was the last one.
Max says that they haven't positively identified the bodies yet, but they found Eve's wedding rings in the car. So then Kevin has a meltdown.
And John Lindstrom does a really good job with that. He
does.
Yeah,
I actually really like him. I don't. It sounds really mean to say. I didn't like when he had the long hair thing going on.
Yes.
So I was like,
then he had the beard. had the long hair in the beginning, then he had the beard. Like I know they kept changing his look of the opening credits.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's Lucy hits him with a pillow. And then it's just Kevin with like the long hair, and Lucy hits him with a pillow, and it's Kevin with the beard.
Livy wants to know more about Jack and why he came to Port Charles. Frank informs Chris that Eve and Ian may have been killed because at the hospital, Karen, Joe was there.
Yeah, Karen, Joe, Karen, who was all in the oncology room? Because I know Chris said like, you're a nurse, so Gabby was there. You're a nurse and you're a paramedic, so Frank was there. You're not supposed to be in the oncology room, so it's Karen, Chris, Frank, Gabby. I feel like there was somebody else, and Joe.
Yeah, Joe was there.
Joe was there. Yep.
Yeah, because him and Chris had a little.
They had a little
physical confrontation. Like they didn't swing, but like he like jerked him up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he was like, "What's a nurse and a EMT in the encore?" I was like, "Oh yeah, you're a jerk."
And then like he mentioned that like, "Oh, Eve's my best friend," and I'm like, I remember this. I remember that they sort of tried to do something with Eve and Chris during the non-arcs.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just call them the non-arcs. And like they tried to get them in a relationship, but like they really tried so hard with the Chris character to make it happen. But I remember they schemed a lot. Like they did scheme a lot, and I think Chris found a file of Eve, because remember the first episode, if you watch the first episode, like the 2-hour movie where Audrey got her head drilled in, at the end of that he found a folder that what's the guy's name, Cooper, that Cooper had of Eve, and Chris took the folder of Cooper, so basically they were blackmailing each other. So I'm like, how are they friends? They're not.
So the bomb squad is called, and Lucy says that she'll take Kevin home and Victor will stay and help Mac out with, I guess, information, whatever they need. Jack is talking to Livy about his mother, and he tells her that she was sick when he found her, and he's drawn to the water because that's where he scattered her ashes.
Mm-hmm.
Chris calls Livy, and Jack breaks the glass when he hears his voice.
I'm surprised it wasn't as bad as worse than what it was.
Right. And Chris calls again when Livy's wrapping Jack's cut, and Jack thinks Chris wants to be more than friends with Livy, and Livy says she doesn't really care what he wants; it's about what she wants.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Yes, you want Jack."
She wants Jack.
Lucy tells Kevin that the bomb squad ruled it a professional job, and they ruled out the possibility that it was Rachel. Kevin lashes out over the possibility that the explosion may have been caused by someone in Ian's past. He wishes Ian had been the only one that died and not his wife. Why did he have to say them? Chris barges in on Livy and Jack and explains what happened to Eve and Ian. So Livy rushes off to see Kevin. And Chris warns Jack to stay away from Livy. And Jack says, like hell he will.
Like hell I will.
Kevin replays the answering machine outgoing message of Eve's voice over until he breaks down crying. That was really sad.
That was really sad.
And it was realistic because people do that. Like I even did that when my grandfather passed. I had like voicemails and I would just like listen to it just to hear the voice. So that was like a very realistic reaction.
They do this again when a certain character dies. With I'm not going to mention who the character was who dies or who plays the voicemail, but this happens again. Like this is like a thing in Port Charles. Like when somebody dies, they play their answering machine, which it got in me too when that happened.
And Eve and Ian are alive. They're just unconscious and being held captive. I love how fast.
That was fast. That was fast.
Yeah, like we already got like it was a professional job. Like they're alive in 2 episodes.
It was 2 episodes. Yeah, yeah. Now normally I would be like, oh well, this happened too fast. But since it's an arc, like we get it. We have to keep things moving. So if this happened, let's say like Young and the Restless, like it did, like with the Cameron Kirsten thing. I would be like, oh man, this happened too fast. I want more. But with these, I understand because it's like, okay, we got to get this plot moving. That kind of made me not mind the Cameron Kirsten stuff as much. That happened this week, but because I was watching Port Charles, other people might not feel the same way.
So. No, I like it honestly because it's already a short show to begin with. So it just feels more prime timey when things are moving quicker.
Yeah.
It makes it more bingeable, I feel like.
Which, by the way, this is the easy binge if you want to if you want to watch it.
Yes, it's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, all on YouTube.
So Scott comes to see Lucy and she tells him about Ian and Eve. I know Scott is like in the credits, but I feel like when I was watching, he was barely on and he was always and I'm just like, is he on the show though?
Yeah, because he was on a lot in the non-arcs. Because basically they were trying that, like, I remember there was I read an article saying that, like, oh, Port Charles is initially going to be called Scotty's World, and it would be all about Scott and coming back to Port Charles and everything like that. But they changed the name to Port Charles. Actually, it was going to be called GH2 as well.
Really?
Yep, General Hospital 2. Yep. Which I don't like that title either.
That's like Dynasty 2 with the Colbys.
Colbys, yes.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Livy comes to Kevin's place. She doesn't know what to say except that she's sorry, and she wants to, like, she doesn't know what she can say or do. She just wants to comfort him. Ian and Eve wake up and untie each other, and a man with his goons walks in and Ian tries to attack him, but he's taken down. The man tells Eve that she's even prettier than her pictures, so we kind of know that he's been like stalking them a little bit.
Which, by the way, I've been rewatching Guiding Light, and the guy who plays Harris, that's the name of the guy, he was on Guiding Light as essentially the same character.
Also, it's very jarring for me that his name is Harris, given that we have a Harris on Days of Our Lives right now.
Yes.
Like, he looks like a Carmine or a Nico or something.
Yeah. Especially Nico. That would have been a nice little twist on the Maurice Bernard character on All My Children.
Right. Scott tries to comfort Lucy, and when she says she can't believe Eve is dead, Serena walks in and overhears.
Oh, Serena. We need her on GH.
Ian tells Eve the man's name is Harris, and once upon a time he thought that he killed him. Lucy and Scott explain to Serena what happened, and Kevin explains to Livy why and how he fell in love with Eve, to kind of give her like a broader picture of who she was to him. Ian explains to Eve when he worked with Doctors Without Limits. Was that what it was called? I wasn't sure if I heard that right.
I think I know the actual thing is Doctors Without Borders, but
yeah, but
I'm wondering if they had to change it because of copyright and stuff like that. Doctors Without Limits. If that was, I didn't pay attention to that part either. So
I knew that it was a twist on that name, and I'm like, oh,
name. I was like,
it's like they can't use actual drug names.
They can't use it. Yeah.
When he worked for them, a virus broke out in a village, and he came up with an antidote that would save the children. The shipment of supplies were being flown in, and Harris hijacked the plane, so the children died. And I think maybe this episode got cut off early because my last note was Lucy and Scott take Serena to see Kevin.
Yeah, so it looked like there was like a tracking error or something like that. Yeah, so
Oh boy. So now my next note is almost as long as the first note when we started. Gabby, Joe, Jamal, Allison, Frank, and Karen are all helping to clean up the bar. Which, by the way, they did like very quickly, given that there was an explosion. Like,
Right?
it looked like they were just sweeping up glass, and there was already like full bottles like stacked and everything.
Mhm.
I'm like, that doesn't seem realistic, but okay. Joe raises a toast to Eve and Ian. Is Allison supposed to be underage or like not of drinking age? Because she got a soda while the rest of them all
Yeah,
did.
Allison and Livy are supposed to be 18.
Okay.
So they can't drink. At least in America they can't. In other
Yeah.
countries they can.
Yeah, that was like a little detail I noticed that I was like, is there something with that? Is she an alcoholic? Like I didn't like with soap, she never know.
Yeah, Allison's underage because when they introduced her, she was like 17, I think.
Okay.
When in the non-arc, she was like 17. So I think she's 18 now.
Okay. I also felt like, again, talking about how quick everything was moving, every episode felt like a new day.
Mm-hmm.
Like we didn't really pick up like where like the last one left off. It was already like either they were in different clothes, they were in different locations, which again I liked.
I like that. Keeps things moving.
Yeah. So with that in mind, Eve and Ian have now been separated. Eve manages to escape by throwing hot coffee in the guard's face and hitting him over the head with the food tray.
Yeah.
And locking him out. We're locking him in, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Jamal is feeling down about Allison getting hurt and not being able to protect her financially and with health insurance.
Yeah, because there was like a whole scene where like the nurse would, well, not the nurse. I don't think it was a nurse. I think it was like an insurance person at the hospital was saying like, "Oh, we can't treat you because your insurance is." Well, I don't think she actually. No. Now that I think about it, she didn't actually say that they couldn't treat her. She said that her insurance was gone. Jamal jumped to the conclusion that they couldn't treat her. Mm-hmm. And Gabby came in and said like, "Oh no, at GH we treat everybody no matter who walks in." And I'm just like, isn't that every hospital?
Yeah, like I mean, like, yeah. You know, something like, oh yeah, no, we gotta let you die because you don't have health insurance.
Yeah, I was like, isn't that every hospital? Like, I swear, because like I know when I went to the ER one time, I saw a sign that says we can treat you have to treat every patient, even if they don't have, even if they can't afford it, even if they don't have insurance. I'm like, okay. I'm like, is that every hospital though?
Okay, so Kevin goes down by the water and he's having like memories of like pre-marriage with Eve and like the proposals and their wedding. And I put a note because I thought it was a very odd thing to say. They were talking about, I guess, their life together. And Eve said something about eating hedgehogs at Thanksgiving.
I heard that.
And I was like, what? I was
like,
look,
better the hedgehogs than okay, and this is burned in my memory than race car sex, like kid race car bed sex. That was oh my god. I'm so glad they didn't bring that up because I was just like, ew! And I remember this was 1998. I was practically a teenager at that point, and this grossed me. Like, no, I don't like. If we ever rewatch Poor Charles and the Non-Arcs, I'm like, I'm skipping over that part because I didn't like that. But the hedgehog thing, I was like, wait a minute, and I have to rewind it too. I was like, wait a minute, they eating hedgehogs? I'm like, what was poor Sonic?
That's what I was thinking. They're so cute and tiny. Why would you want to eat them?
Yeah, why would you want to eat them?
How would you eat them?
It's like when my principal like came in and was talking about her time in Africa, and she ate monkey brains. Like I've heard that's good. But, yeah, I heard it's a delicacy, but I'm like, no.
Yeah, no. Maybe if you didn't tell me what it was and you dressed it up with other things, I could eat it.
I was looking at it like, oh, it looks like mac and cheese.
So Harris has a disease. I couldn't like comprehend or like retain what it was actually called, so I just put what they were calling it. It's called Assassin's disease, and he
Soap
wanted,
opera disease.
yeah. I wondered if it was a real disease, but I didn't really care to Google it. And he wants Ian to cure him. Ian refuses, but Harris tells him if he doesn't help him, Eve will pay the price. Harris informs Eve and Ian that poor Charles thinks they are dead, which greatly upsets Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Ian tells Eve about Harris's illness, and this was kind of funny because when he was telling Eve, he kind of had a smirk on his face. And then Eve was like, "How far along is it?" And he said, "Pretty far along." And she was like, "Good."
Good. I like Eve.
Julie Pinson should be working.
She really should be. Is she still married to Billy Warlock?
I think so. I think I looked at it recently.
Yeah, I think they're still married. She needs to be working. She definitely does.
And that was it. Ian tells Eve about Harris's illness, and Harris says if they don't help him, they will all die.
Mm-hmm.
Livy and Jack are discussing their relationship. Discussing her relationship with Kevin and how she can help him. And Chris grabs Jack and throws him and tells him not to touch her. Chris tells Livy that Jack is a no good grifter. Kevin tears through Ian's apartment for any kind of clue as to who would kill Ian and Eve. Joe tries to stop Kevin, but is unsuccessful. And Kevin finds a note started by Ian, revealing that they kissed.
Oh.
I was like, ooh. I didn't know that. And if I did, I forgot. But that's it. It was just like one sentence. He didn't actually.
Yeah, it was just like
a letter.
It was like Eve, for the moment we kissed. That's it. And I'm using oh my gosh, I'm using Thorsten K's like bold and beautiful voice.
Also, young Thorsten K. I was like, okay.
I like him on this.
I'm like, I think I like it.
I like him on this. I like him a lot on Port Charles. I don't like him as much on B&B.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say why. People on Twitter know why. But or people listen to the chat podcast also know why. But yeah, I really like him on this, and I kind of liked him on All My Children as well.
I didn't really watch All My Children, but I remember the promos. Thank you, SoapNet.
Yes.
So Jack punches Chris and drops a photo. Chris demands to know where he got that. It turns out it's actually a photo of Chris and his younger brother.
Mm.
And Jack says that it's a picture of him and his brother.
Mm.
So I was like, "Ooh, this feels like a big reveal."
Yeah.
Because I was saying, everything's just moving along. Kevin can tell Joe knew about the kiss. Joe tries to tell him it didn't mean anything and that Ian was leaving town. And Kevin wonders if there was more to it, if there was like an actual affair happening.
Mm-hmm.
Ian and Eve decide to make the best of their situation and get some sleep before getting to work on finding a cure for Harris. There's only one bed, and Ian initially takes the floor before they realize that it's ridiculous. I hate when they shows do this. Like, we're adults. Like, you can't control yourself. Just sleep in the bed. Who cares?
Sleep in the bed, yeah.
So they decide one will sleep under the covers and one will sleep on top. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I think they wound up like both sleeping under the covers. It was weird.
Yeah.
They didn't actually say what they were going to do.
This is like, what we discussed. So Eve, instead of going right to sleep, starts questioning Ian about what he was going to tell her before the car explosion. Joe goes to Lucy to tell her Kevin's in bad shape and shouldn't be alone.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin is drunk and angrily throws Eve's wedding dress and clothes out of the closet. He ends up hitting his head on a dresser and falls unconscious, knocking over a candle that falls on Eve's clothes and catches fire.
Mm.
And that was actually the end of the first week, so that was a good cliffhanger Friday.
That was a good cliffhanger, yep.
Jack proves he's Chris's little brother by telling stories from their childhood that only he would know, which I really didn't care about. I don't really like hearing fake stories of things I didn't see on the actual show.
Yeah, right.
Whatever.
I remember being confused. I was like, well, when I kind of first watched this, I was like, oh, like Chris has a brother named Jack, but are there other siblings? But I think I also confused it with like, so Gabby actually has a large family. I thought Chris was the one with the large family, but Gabby was the one with the large family. So I think when I conflated the two and thought that they were, and thought that Chris had a large family.
Eve thinks, given their current circumstances, she deserves to know what Ian was going to tell her. Lucy tries to call Kevin, and when there's no answer, she decides to go to his place. So Lucy to the rescue.
And I like when she finds the key and was like, thank you, goddess, whatever you.
Jack says he had no idea Chris was who he was at first, which I don't really buy, because
I don't buy that, because
the whole glass breaking thing makes me think he knew.
Yeah, the glass breaking thing. I feel like he knows that he was looking specifically for Chris when he came into town, but found Livy instead. So
yeah. He explains how their mother was sick and they didn't have money or insurance, and for some program, like experimental program, and she ended up dying. Livy thinks maybe it's fate, and I was like,
drop of the title.
That they're reunited, but Chris isn't buying it because he thinks, okay, maybe it's fate, coincidence that they just happen to be in the same town. But Chris thinks, no, not now. We're interested in the same girl. He's like, no, you're up to something. Ian tells Eve he wanted to get a computer disk with Rachel's research on it. She said all this is over a computer disk that she already had a copy of. Lucy finds Kevin unconscious in the fire. She calls for help. She wakes him up and he doesn't want to go, and she refuses to leave without him. And she's like, I don't want to die, but like, if you want to die, then I'm not going anywhere.
Yep.
He decides to get them out of there. Livy tries to intervene between Jack and Chris by saying, you know, maybe they're more similar than they think, and maybe that's why she was attracted to both of them, because she saw something familiar in each of them.
Yeah.
Of course, Chris is like, no.
Chris is like, nope.
At the hospital, Lucy finds Ian's letter that he started to Eve in Kevin's jacket pocket, right?
Yeah, the jacket pocket.
And
because remember, he was wearing the suit.
Yeah, right. Livy tries to convince Chris to give Jack a chance so that they can be brothers again. Chris invites Jack back to his place to catch up, which doesn't go well. We find out later.
Nope.
Lucy confronts Kevin about the letter, and when she goes to get checked out herself, he sneaks out of the hospital. Ian and Eve argue over her getting in the car before the explosion. He says he was just trying to leave, and she's the one who chased after him and jumped in the car. She starts screaming, and she wants to get out of there, and he holds her and says he doesn't blame her for this. He just wishes she was home and safe instead of there with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, I didn't know if I shipped them, but I do, I think.
Yeah.
So the episode that aired after this was it started off very weird. It was like almost like a clip reel of everything that happened in the last
episode. It was a recap, yeah.
But there was no like previously on Port Charles.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
What is this?
I think they might have had that because like I think they noticed people were starting to watch the show. But I'm not sure if they ever had like an increase of ratings or something like that. I don't know. Because the show was always like towards the bottom of the ratings. So I'm guessing they had that because maybe they were starting to see like, oh, people are starting to watch this. Let's put a preview before this, and then to catch up, and then.
I remember thinking even back then, whenever a new soap started, it was always the one that was last in the ratings. Like Passions came after Port Charles, and it was always last in the ratings.
Yeah, Sunset Beach was last.
Yeah.
What's the?
Although Passions apparently did well in the demos, they were always touting
Passions did well in the demos, yeah, really well in the demos. Like, there to the point where they had to air a commercial saying like, "Set your VCRs to Passions while you're at school."
Kevin continues to drink at a bar, and he's the only one in this bar. And he starts hallucinating Eve, and I'm like, ugh, why did they make Julie sing? Like,
I know.
Like, I could see if that
was one of my favorite songs too. Stand by me, like no, don't ruin Stand by Me.
Livy and Allison gossip about Jack.
That's a good scene.
Livy tells Allison how she stumbled upon Jack skinny dipping when they first met. And I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, I think I remember that too. That's the same with like I don't know if you watch Bold and the Beautiful, but that's how Hope on Bold and the Beautiful saw Wyatt Spencer, Liam's brother. Like, yeah, that's the same exact way that Hope that like Livy saw Jack skinny dipping, and then like but instead Wyatt was like taking a bath, like not a bath, a shower outside for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hope ran into.
I wasn't watching back then, but I've seen that scene.
Yes.
Probably because Bold does flashbacks of everything every day.
Oh yeah.
Jack tells Chris it was their mother's dying wish for them to find each other and be a family.
Oh.
Lucy finds Kevin at the bar, and she brings him back to her place, I think. Right? That was her place.
It is her place. Yeah, I think it is her place.
Was Livy staying at her place? Because Livy just kind of like barges in.
Yeah, I think Livy stays at her place. I think that's what was going on with that.
Yeah. Harris brings up Eve's past, which forces her to admit to Ian that she was a prostitute. Now, wasn't that one of the things that was in the folder from the movie?
Yes, that was in the folder. And then Julie's dad, one of the interns, Julie, who is actually Christina's mom.
That's the one that has the curly hair, right?
With the curly hair in the credits. Yep. You still see that curly hair up until the credits. What was I gonna say? Oh, Bennett is Julie's dad, and Eve and Bennett had a relationship, a prostitute relationship, like a transactional relationship like that. So, because I was watching a little bit of, because I was like, I don't want to keep watching the same like episodes of so I went back and I watched a few episodes of in the very beginning, and just to kind of remind myself, because they did drop some hints of like, oh, there are certain things that happened before the arcs that you might want to know about. So, and I watched it and I saw that Eve and Bennett were talking, and that's how it was revealed that she was a prostitute.
Ian doesn't care about her past, and he warns Harris not to disrespect her. Eve tells Ian she's seen that look on a man's face before, and there will come a point where he will come after what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Livy is torn between how she feels for Jack and how she feels for Chris. Allison says maybe she should take a break from both and just see where her heart wants. Jack comes by and asks to go for a walk and talk, and she says she can't, but he should call her sometime and make plans. Lucy brings Kevin home and she wants to help him, and he just wants to be with her, and they start kissing. Eve wants to kill Harris. Ian says they'll save his life and then they can kill him. Livy walks in on Kevin trying to make love to Lucy and yells for him to get off of her.
Get off of her.
I guess because Lucy was like, no, this isn't right. This isn't right.
Yeah, because
he attacked her maybe. Or
because first they were really into it, and then second, and then and then Lucy was like, no, I'm not in. No, this is wrong.
Well, also because I think he said Eve's name.
Yeah.
So she was just like Eve.
Yes, he did. Yeah. He did say Eve's name.
Yeah. Livy is disgusted to see Kevin drunk and acting the way he is. And back then, I probably would have been like, yeah, with Livy. But now that I'm more mature, I'm just like, calm down. You sound like a whiny brat.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, Livy, just tone it down a little bit. And,
you're supposed to be like 18.
You just became an adult.
Allison wants to celebrate Jamal's new job. She takes a break at work so they could go fool around. And I must have looked down to take notes because when I rewatched them, most of them anyway, this morning to refresh my memory, and I didn't remember like they're like the beginning of their lovemaking scene. I'm like, oh, I definitely was looking down because what I did remember was just seeing them in like the afterglow with the ice cream, and I'm like, oh, I missed it. Lucy is trying to break through to Kevin. Kevin says the thought of his wife thinking about another man while she was with him is killing him. He wants to mourn her, but he's so angry. And Lucy kind of, I don't know if she consciously started to use reverse psychology, but she starts to say like bad things about Eve. Like, yeah.
Oh, well, they're not friends. Even Lucy or Lucy
but I don't know if he was doing it to get him to like mourn her, because then when she starts saying things about Eve, he starts to defend her. Which Lucy kind of has a reaction like, good, this is how you should be reacting.
Yeah, because it was very easy for Lucy to be like, oh yeah, Eve's just a terrible person, I don't like her.
Yeah.
Because there was like one nurse's ball where like Eve and Catherine Bell conspired to get Lucy like Lucy's dress to come off, and that's like a famous like thing in the nurse's ball.
Yes,
dress falls off.
Jamal has a shady phone call from his new job. He says
that I can't wait to see.
He says to call his cell phone if they need him. He doesn't want Allison knowing what he's doing. This job doesn't have anything to do with the bike shop, does it?
You know what? It could be.
Because I was like, I wonder when the bike shop comes into play.
Yeah, because I remember Jack was in the bike shop.
Mm-hmm.
And then like that was all the beginning of the end of Time in a Bottle and beginning of Tandem Love.
Yeah. I was just wondering. I was like, oh, I wonder when that set comes.
Yeah, you know, I didn't even think about that. Thought about the bike shops. So that you could be right.
Eve has a dream within a dream. Where she wakes up and her and Ian begin making love. She then actually wakes up screaming for him, and he rushes to comfort her. Livy returns to her place that she lived at with her mom. And thinks about what she saw between Kevin and Lucy. Scott runs into Lucy at the bar and sits with her. She explains to Scott about the letter Kevin found. Eve is horrified that she is now fantasizing about Ian. Livy picks up a picture with broken glass of it of her mother, and her grandmother. And I was like, oh, how convenient that because Kimberly's not on the show anymore, that the glass is cracked over her face so we can't see.
Yeah.
They don't have the rights to her image. Jack shows up and sees the picture and thinks it's good he did because it seems like Livy needs somebody to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
She says that she has to get this place cleaned up and go through her mother's things. He brings up his family issues with Chris. She says Allison told her how he took money to pretend to be her boyfriend. I don't remember that.
I don't remember that either. I know that has to have been the before the arcs.
Was she like trying to make Jamal jealous? So she like was using Jack to do it?
I don't remember. I'll have to find that episode.
That feels like what would happen.
That feels like that will happen. Yeah. Which ironically, the actor who plays Allison, the actor who plays not Jamal, Jack, they're married in real life.
Married in real life, yeah.
Yep, they're still married, I think. Yeah. I think they both retired from acting and they're like raising their kids.
Yeah, well, she came back for GH's 50th and they killed her.
Right, that's right. Oh man, which I have mixed feelings about that.
Chris pays someone to get info on Jack to get him out of town.
Mm-hmm.
Scott accuses Lucy of falling in love with Kevin again. He suggests dropping bringing up the letter and alleged affair because it probably wasn't real. Ian says Harris must take a small amount of poison in order to kill the virus. Harris thinks this is a trick to kill him. Ian says he either takes this chance with the poison or he dies. And Harris pulls a knife on Eve and says they need to reestablish who's in control here.
Mm-hmm.
Livy says she has trouble trusting people after all the recent letdowns in her life recently. And I'm like, calm down.
I know, right? You're 18. Like, I get it. You're 18.
Not putting everybody on a pedestal. Like,
yeah, that's exactly what. Who said that? Was it Kevin or was it? No, it wasn't Kevin. It was Jack, right?
It was Jack.
It was Jack, yeah.
He can relate. And she asked how he's doing with the loss of his mother. And he said he's still working on it. So he goes to leave her to let her, get to the apartment. And they kiss. And I was like, I was all like, I like them. Lucy reads DNA evidence that the remains in the explosion do not match Ian and Eve. And she knows that they are alive.
Yes.
Again, this is only like a week and a half in.
It's only a week and a half in, yeah. Moving along.
Ian takes the poison in order to prove it's not enough to kill him. Lucy thinks that Ian and Eve faked their deaths to run away together.
Yes, I like that whole scene where like it was just her like having an inner dialogue.
Yes.
And then coming to that conclusion. Of course, it's because Lucy doesn't like Eve, so of course she would come to that conclusion.
She's like, yeah. She says she has to tell Kevin herself before he reads it on the report. Mm-hmm. Harris says he'll wait to see if Ian dies before he takes the dose of poison. This is my one and only like real note about Gabby and Joe. It's that she burns dinner while getting ready.
Yeah.
For a romantic night with him. They didn't really have much. They were kind of talk-tos for most of these 2 weeks.
They were kind of in the background and like talk-tos.
The one thing that I was like, kind of like, okay, was Frank and Joe, his brother Frank and his mother discussing his sex life.
I know. I'm like, ugh.
Because he had an HIV scare, apparently.
Yeah, he did. And Courtney actually kind of goes into that because like kind of like fits into that. She actually I think she revealed it.
Okay.
On quote unquote national TV.
Oh really?
I think she revealed that, but she was like in the dark. And Yeah, it was yeah, she revealed like his HIV status, which I don't think you're supposed to do. So, and I think that's kind of why she's not on the show anymore. Like they kind of pushed her off because it's very controversial.
Lucy finds Kevin at the hospital chapel. He's waiting on the DNA report. He knows what it will say, but he supposes this will be closure. Now all of a sudden he's sober.
Yeah, all of a sudden he's sober. Hey, bye. Bye alcoholism storyline.
One episode later, he's got his shit together.
He's like, yeah, I just realized that I was just acting like an idiot, and I don't want to be an alcoholic anymore. I wish it was that simple, Kevin.
Right. Lucy is determined to not let Kevin see that report. I liked her whole like discussion with God. She was like, I know it was a lie, but it's just like a little bit of white lie. And she's like, you got to work with me here.
You got to work with me here. That's what I like about poor Charles. At least, I think this was when Lynn Marie was writing it when most of the non-arc. There's elements of humor in that show, and I find myself laughing so much about that. And then when Karen Harris and Barbara Bloom, they're kind of still on the show, if you notice in the credits. Mm-hmm. When they took over, it got so good with the strike and everything like that. Oh my gosh.
I like when Lucy has her quirky little like moments like that, the little comedic effect.
Especially with her duck, Sigmund.
Yeah.
Which I think they kind of phased Sigmund out at this point.
Ian starts to feel the effects of the poison and wants to be left alone, but Eve won't leave his side. I like there was a line where he says, I didn't take enough to kill a person. She's like, you don't know that. He's like, yes, I do. And then he's like, no, I don't. Harris plans on taking the poison if Ian survives, but killing him anyway. Mm-hmm. And he plans to have his way with Eve before disposing of her. Ian starts hallucinating and starts saying he should have told Eve that he loved her.
But he was also hallucinating, remember, the children, too. He was talking about the children. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. That killed me.
I was like, where is Eve that she can't hear him? Is she in like a bathroom?
She's like, yeah, she's literally like in the other room. Like,
she's like, why? I can't hear you. And he's like, I love you. I love you.
I love you, Eve. I love you. Eve, I love you.
It's like, hold on, I'll be right there.
I'll be right there. I'm in the other room.
When she comes out to check on him, he ends up falling unconscious, so he can't say that he loves her. And that's how the episodes end that we watched.
Yep.
That was a nice cliffhanger Friday.
Yep. 2 weeks went by so quick.
So quick, and such a quick watch also, honestly.
Yeah.
But well, thank you for joining me to cover this.
You're welcome.
I'm hoping you want to continue pushing forward.
Oh yes.
Yay! All right, so
I'm trying not to watch the next 2 weeks of episodes, which I think will be the whole month, the whole deception or whatever they call it.
Okay.
Yeah, everything is with a D, I think. So, which I don't know why we should be given an F, but with Fate. But yeah, but I want to finish out this month too. So.
All right, so you heard it here first. We are going to take this journey together. In the meantime, where can everybody find you on all the socials?
So it's probably easier if you just find me on Twitter at Tornado Song, just because I don't want to give out my socials.
Okay, no problem. And as always, you can find us on all the socials at Queers and Soaps. And until next time, have a great night, day, whenever you're watching this. Bye.
Bye.